This is episode 154 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Clay Hepler. Clay started out thinking he was going to build a rental portfolio. Things changed and he turned to land flipping. Now he is the CEO of Landman. Clay, welcome to the show.
Jonathan, it is a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. I was saying before, we've done some land flipping shows, but we haven't done one in a while. So it's a nice give back for the audience. Let's start though, before that, you first got into real estate not thinking about land, but what led you to real estate in general?
So it's funny, you and I were talking about this briefly beforehand, right? And what brought me to real estate was this law of accident, right? I dropped out of college and joined a family business. We were selling chocolate, high-end chocolate, learned sales and marketing. And along the way, like any normal, young college age kid, I was looking through my social media, right? And I started to see, right, hey, you got to read this book. Hey, Bigger Pockets. Hey, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Learn how to invest in real estate. Brandon Turner. And so I started to learn that real estate was a way, and as Bigger Pockets pitches it, the ultimate way to build wealth without any headaches, without any hassles. You're never going to have any difficulties or issues. And I said, oh my gosh, it's going to be so easy to make money in real estate. I realized I'm hopelessly inadequate in so many categories that I require other people. And you're even more hopelessly inadequate when you're younger and you don't know shit.
Yeah.
You don't know shit. And you pretend like watching something on YouTube or listening to a podcast or reading a book is going to give you the actual skills that is required to build a business. Not only the skills, right? What's almost just as important, if not more important, is the mindset.
Yeah.
The ability to bear the stress that you have when you are building a business. It is crippling. And
I think,
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I mean, mindset specifically, I think what people want is such a quick fix, especially when they're younger, that it's like, they'll send out one postcard and they're like, oh, well, fuck it, this doesn't work. It's like, bro, you have to do that for 6 months to even get a sniff. You can't give up. But I feel like everybody, not necessarily young people, I think people who are just looking for something that's quicker, they turn to real estate because it does look good. But then they think, they're going to make one call and someone's gonna be like, oh yeah, you're a wholesaler. I'd love to sell you my property at a grave discount and then also help you make more money. It's kind of silly, right?
It is so silly. And the problem is that the people who talk about this, you have to understand what the positioning of the reason why we get all this information is because we're being sold the bill of goods of the ease because that person is trying to sell me some course, some education, and they don't really care about me. They're not really invested. They're not really, they don't have a business either. What happens is you have a business, it gets hard, and you hit a point. Maybe it's $1 million, $2 million. For a lot of these wholesaling and house flipping businesses, that's where it is. Maybe it's $750. I have a couple of VAs working on. I have a couple of maybe an acquisition person, and I'm making $100,000 a year. And you know what? I think that I'm going to start an education company. And this is what everyone does because it's so much easier in education. And if you don't have the actual ability and the resume to do that, which is what most people do, they sell this bill of goods and someone buys a $10,000 course and they don't have the results that they want and they flood the marketplace with unsophisticated people which bid up prices.
Looking back, I mean, I think you made a really smart choice, and I think it can help other people who are young and motivated to know, go to someone who's done it before. Because you got into wholesaling, but you're not one of these kids now who's just like, hey, I'm going to start a wholesaling business from scratch. I don't know anything. I don't know how to do repair values. You went to somebody who had tools and skill sets and properties and added what you can learn from them with books, podcasts, and all the other things. Is that something that helped you think kind of move quicker than normally?
100%. I think it's cliche, but it's cliche because it's true. And people don't want to do the work. They don't want to make someone else wealthy. And now that I'm on the other end of the spectrum, I have employees underneath me, and I understand the value of investing in people So
Yeah.
don't just blindly go out there. And I didn't blindly go out there and just found the first person I talked to, right? I
So,
found, right,
but hey, you sell real estate? Let's
right,
go
right,
to
right,
work.
right. I saw an opportunity, and I assessed it, and I said, this is as good as opportunity that I think I can get at this point, and so I'm going to jump fully into it. And so people though, when you're younger, even if you're late 20s, 30s, if you're trying to get into a business, it's so much better to go and play full out and help another person get wealthy and get
Yeah.
wealthy along the way than it is to like try to start this wholesale business. I mean, you should have seen, John, like how many people applied to the position of my acquisition manager that had wholesale businesses that failed.
Yeah.
It's 75% of the people,
Right.
80%.
There was it was a study that they mailed postcards consecutively, and between 6 and 8 months on a monthly mail. It was a fake real estate company. This was an on-market thing. It was like a company that didn't exist, and by 6 or 8 months, people were saying, "Oh yeah, I know that company. They're great." Like, no, it doesn't exist. So that's really
Mm.
like that. That's the thing, though. I think people say like, "Hey, I've got this amount of money to spend," and then they blow it all in the first month, and thinking that, well, you're not doing any follow up. You don't even have any call follow up routines set up. Because if you do a mass mailer or spray and pray, you need to be ready for those calls, right? I think a lot of people just put their cell phone on hope for the best, and then the calls come in and half are bad, half are good, and then they're already buried in the first week.
Right. The consistency is what separates people from I'm going to make a $250,000 my first year. I'm going to make 50,000. I'm going to make 100,000. I'm going to make $1 million my first year. It's really the consistency. I can spend X amount this month on the first of the month or the 15th of the month, whatever it is. I'm going to send out X amount of mailers and I'm going to keep it consistent. It's always better to do fewer, more targeted, as you and I have been discussing,
Yeah.
and keep it consistent over time than overload and say, I'm going to send 10,000. I'm going to wait. Then in 3 months, I'm going to send another 10,000. I'm going to wait. Instead of saying, I'm going to send 5,000 a month, and it's going to be very consistent, very targeted, because that also allows you to say, okay, I can expect to have this amount per month. And then you can go really, really deeper and deeper and deeper and know how long does it take my mailers to convert? How much money am I making per mailer? And if you have consistent outbound marketing, you can have consistent predictability of your results.
Yeah, and I think people just forget that it takes a lot. You may send a postcard at a time that's good for you, but they may not respond to it until it's a time that's good for them. That could be a year later. They could still be holding the postcard. You just don't know. And I feel the same about social media. I don't use social media the way that others do, like so grabby and shiny. But I think that someone on my on market business, I'm 100% sure people can follow you for a year. You have no idea that they're even following you. And then they just DM you and they're like, want to do a deal. So like all of these things are very similar in terms of what you're saying about consistency. Like if you just keep putting it out there, you still have to be available for that return so you can get it when they're hot because maybe they're getting more, a couple more mailers. If you're mailing them, someone else is surely mailing them.
Yeah. And I tell my sales guys that on average, every 3 to 6 months, that a life event happens in someone's life. Period. You might move, you might have a call you might get married, you might get engaged, you might have your kid graduate college. And if you have a massive funnel of people that are in your internals, in your CRM, and you call them every 3 to 6 months, you're not a dick. You're like an actual real person that
Yeah.
has rapport with this person. You're a good person. You say, hey, what's going on? It's August. Happy 15th of August. Whatever you want to use to
Yeah.
get this person's attention. If you call them every 3 to 6 months, you're really setting yourself up to build the brand, just like when we send out our postcards every month or 2 months, like you were saying, you build the brand of, oh, I know Hepler Land Holdings,
Yeah.
right? I know them because they first sent me 6 mailers in a row. And then when I went into their system, I wasn't ready, but they called me for a year and I'm going to sell to them because I have a relationship with them.